So information and communication technology. So this lecture will be done by myself, Tilak De Silva, and Mr. Nishant Ratnayakar. Let's go to the first slide. Yeah. Information and communication technology. What is ICT? Now, this lecture, rather than I call it a discussion, will be useful for your B paper, but don't expect the same thing what you are discussing here come into the B paper. So the B paper, what we want to assess is your knowledge in different areas as a manager. So this is also called the management paper. So therefore, you should have some knowledge about the politics, economics, finance, all areas. Now today we will touch about the information and communication technology area, ICT area. ICT, what is ICT? Information and communication technology. What is the use of ICT? Why we need the ICT? Now you know with the COVID-19 pandemic, without ICT, we cannot live. So we do everything with ICT. Uh, with this pandemic, we know we wanted to limit our movements, our travel. So therefore, our all bank transactions we did from the ICT, via ICT. Our children doing their studies using the ICT. Now, do you use ICT for engineering? Do you use ICT for engineering? Now, all engineering fields, you need the ICT. So, if you don't use the ICT, your workload will be very high, and you don't have enough time to complete your work, finish your work. So, you will get stress. So, if you use a ICT for engineering, your life will be easy. And what you should know about ICT. Now let us discuss about these things for your day-to-day work, engineering work. What you should know about the ICT. So ICT has two parts. One is the information, other one is the communication. I will mainly touch about the information, and Mr. Ratnayak will mainly touch about the communication. We both will touch both also, but I will mainly focus about the information. Then what is information? So we have information everywhere. We have the information everywhere. Now, for example, when you say the employees details, we have the name of the employee, age, date of birth, salary, etc. Now, these are not information. Name is not an information. Age is not an information. In the point of view of the IT, these are data. These are data. By using the data, you can make information. By using the data, you can make information. So we can convert data to information. For instance, say the employees whose age is more than 50 years. Whose age is more than 50 years. Maybe the company need to analyze that one, age analysis of the employees. So you have the name, you have the age, or you have the date of birth. From that one, you can find out how many employees are there more than 50 years in your company. So that is information. Now you can see that our data can be converted to information. Then where is our information available? I told you that it is available everywhere. So when you get to your phone, you have information is there. When you consider your telecom operator, your information is there. The telecom operator knows your movements also. He has the all your location information. And when you buy something from particular company, say eBay or somewhere, your credit card information is there. When you can do the medical checkup, so your medical information is in that hospital. So uh, likewise, our personal data is everywhere. So therefore, the protection of personal data also very important. That's why the different rules or the laws are in the world. For instance, the General Data Protection Regulation in the European countries. So that is GDPR. So you have to protect this our personal data. Otherwise, it can be some threat to our life also, or our character. When you are living in the society, it can be badly affected also. So here you can see we have the data everywhere, or the information everywhere, but not only the electronically. Sometimes it may be in the papers also. So we can collect information in different ways, electronic ways and in the hard copies. Now all this information will be very useful to us. So electronic information, how we can store. So we need the hardware for that one. So we need the servers, but nowadays no point of having your own servers with you. So you can store everything in the cloud. So you have a lot of advantages of using the cloud. Therefore, as the engineers, you think about whether you are going to use the individual servers, separate standalone servers for your company and maintained by your staff, the maintained by the separate staff there. Then you have a AC room there. So you should have the UPSs. A lot of the operational cost is there if you maintain your hardware. But if you get a cloud service or data center service, so if you get these things from the data center, so you have to pay monthly rental only. So you can get a physical server or you can get a virtual server also. But when you go to the cloud, it is very easy. You can store everything. Then you don't want to think about the backups. You don't want to think about the have a the disaster recovery sites. Everything is there. So therefore, the store information in the cloud is very easy. When you store something in the Google, so that is in the cloud. So when you use the YouTube, it is in the cloud. So therefore, use the cloud is very uh, very economical and very easy. Then the software. The we need the software, the hardware. We need the hardware, and we also need the software. So I talked about the data. This data can be stored in a database. So therefore, if the database is a software, then you can have your own databases. Then you can extract this data and get many information. For that one, you need the application software. So you have to store information in the hardware and software. Then data, we have to travel from one place to another place. We have to send the data from one place to another place. How do you send the data? You need the network. You need the network. So network can be your own network, your private network, or it can be a public network. That means anybody can subscribe and use that network. The networks provided by the telecom operators are public networks. Network provided by the telecom operators are public networks. For instance, the telephone network. Normally it is called the PSTN, Public Switch Telephone Network. So PSTN, public telephone network. Then you have the broadband networks and we have the mobile networks. So all these things are public network. By giving some amount per month, you can get their service. Then you have your private network also. When you have a local area network, That is your private network. You can have the personal area network with connecting with the Bluetooth. That is your private network. And also you can have your company branches can be connected separately. The connected, uh, then it will become your private wide area network. So you can have your private local area network. Normal local area networks are private. Even the wide area network also you can have the private. If you have a private wide area network, that is called intranet. And the public wide area network is the internet. So understand the difference between the internet and the intranet. But nowadays, without connecting to the public network, without connecting to the internet, you cannot do anything. When you do the business, so that your customers should come online and uh, make the bookings from there, reservations. For the they can online order the things. For that one, they are coming through the network. They are coming through the internet. Then, although you have a private wide area network, that means your intranet, it should be connected to the internet also. So the problem is that when you are connecting the internet, it is very unsecure. It's a public network. So we have to think about the how we can have a secure network. Network security is important these days. So you need to connect to the network. When you are connecting to the network, there are many security vulnerabilities are there. Therefore, you have to be very concerned about that one. Even you are using the email, when you are using the email, there may be phishing mails. So phishing is just like this spelling is phishing, phishing, but it is no matter the normal phishing, fishing. So you may get a mail saying you won a prize and it's $5,000 and pay $10 to register there with that one. You may go and click it. When you click it, that may be complete corrupt to your hard disk. Then maybe they will ask, okay, you pay this much amount to restore your hard disk. You have to pay ransom. So that is called ransomware. So therefore, when you are using the ICT, you should have some idea about the security also. I will come to the security next. Now the communication part, when you talk about the communication, you can do the communication via wired. The data communication, the wired, you can ADSL, fiber to the home. ADSL is copper, fiber to the home means fiber. Mr. Ratnayak will discuss those things. Then the wireless, now we are in the 4G, but still we have the 3G and 2G also. The G means the generations. So each generation is coming in 10 years time. The first generation came in 1980, second generation came in 1990, third generation came in 2000, and the fourth generation came in 2010. And the fifth generation supposed to come is 2020, but it is the maybe in 1 year time it will come, because still we can manage with the 4G. These generations are mainly for the higher bandwidth and the low latency. Latency means the delay, because some applications the delay can be affected. So 5G is coming now. Now these are the public networks: ADSL, FTTH, 4G, 5G. They are public networks. So when you have a local area network, you can have the wired local area network, and also you can have the Wi-Fi network, wireless network, that is called Wi-Fi. So Wi-Fi, you have the IEEE 802.11 standard. You as engineers, you should have some idea about that also. IEEE 802.11 standard. So that is Wi-Fi. So that Wi-Fi can go about even 100 meters it can go, but normally it is about the few meters, about 20 meters, 30 meters it can go. Now Bluetooth also a wireless network technology method, but that is going to a very close the distance, about 1 meter distance. So the different applications we can use the Bluetooth. The Bluetooth earphone you can have, Bluetooth many devices are there now working with the Bluetooth. Now this Wi-Fi and Bluetooth both are working in the 2.4 gigahertz band. As engineer, that also you should have some idea. 2.4 gigahertz band. Wi-Fi has the 5 gigahertz bands also. And Bluetooth is a very small the area network that is called personal area networks. So also called the PicoNet. So everybody does not do the theory of the Bluetooth, but you should have some idea. So that you can connect maximum of 7 devices to the master Bluetooth device. So then these days the RFID, NFC, wireless sensor networks also very important because by using these things you can have very important applications and you can reduce the workload there. You know the different applications of the RFIDs. So the different application of the near field communication, NFC, and wireless sensor networks. Now, wireless sensor networks are still not using in Sri Lanka. It can be used for the defense purposes. It can be used for the agricultural purposes and the different farms you can use to monitor the animal. So many applications are there. Just think about these technologies and how you can apply the technologies here in your company. Now, for instance, when you have the stores, the old days we close the stores for about 1 month to get the stocks. Now, if you have these sensors, the RFIDs, NFCs, those things, you can get the stock at any time. So they have to think about that application of these things. Now, I have mainly touched about the information. Information is very, very valuable to us. Because without having information, we cannot live. Or everywhere we have information. When you go to the YouTube, you have the information. When you go to the WhatsApp, you have the information. So your company has the information. Now, information in a company should be classified. So I just put these classifications, the top secret, general, public, like that. So this is not the standard classification, but I put these classifications. So when you have the information, you classify that one. Why? Because your company runs on information. If something happened to information nowadays, the company can be completely come to standstill. Or sometimes if your business secrets are leaked, so it can be badly affected for the finance of the company also. So information, the after classification, you have to see these three mainly. What is the confidentiality of your information? Because some information are very confidential, then you have to maintain the confidentiality of that information. If somebody will see that information, then there will be no confidentiality and it can be badly affected for the company. Then the integrity. Integrity means the accuracy of the information. So if somebody change the information of a database, then if the integrity is not there, then there are the technology is there to maintain the integrity and the availability. Now, if you are doing the e-commerce, if somebody attack to a server, there are different ways that you can attack: DOS attacks, denial of service, DDoS attacks, so dynamic denial of service. So the different way it can be attacked. Nowadays, there are many bots. Bot means the robots. Can be thousands of robots can be everywhere and they can attack to our server. So you can just see about the security areas, but I am not going to touch those things. But now your company, any organization have the information. Then you have to secure your information. So there is a standard for this security, that is ISO 27001. ISO 27001 is the standard we can use for the information security. There give all the aspects you have to consider to give the security to your company. As engineers, I recommend you to just get some idea about the ISO 27001 also. And I told about the confidentiality, integrity, availability of this information. Now you have the different technologies to maintain those things. So encryption is the method we can use you can maintain the confidentiality of the information. So You have the different encryption methods, symmetric encryption, asymmetric encryption. Under asymmetric encryption, you might heard about the private key, public key, those things. Then to maintain the integrity, you are using the hashing or the checksum is there. So I'm not going to talk detail about the hashing. And when somebody access to the network, your network or your data or your computer, first you have to authenticate him, whether he's a legitimate user to that one. So that is the authentication. So then you have the different authentication methods. Then when the data is going through a public network, internet, I told you, internet is very unsecure. Then how you can have secure connection via the internet? Because without internet, your system is no use. So your employees may access from home to do the work from home. So they are accessing to the internet. So then how we can get a secure connectivity? That we can get the VPNs, virtual private networks. Then you should have some idea about what are VPNs. What is a virtual private networks? So when you access into a website, so you can have the secure accessing. Normally the protocol you are using the HTTP, then you can have the secure connection HTTPS. So when you access into a bank's site, the bank website, you are using the HTTPS. So these are the secure methods to access via the internet. Now, I told you about data. This data or the information that we have everywhere. Are we using this information? Are we getting the advantage of this information? So we have a large amount of data in our organizations. So this data may be the electronically, then they may be in the hard copy form. Different way the data is available, the data or the information is available. So are we properly utilize them? I don't think that we are using at least 1% of the use of that one. Now for example, when you take a telecom operator, they have the customer information. Many information are there. Their bill amount, their payment pattern, and which area they are, and their location. If the mobile operator, they can monitor the location and URLs access. That means what are the websites they have access. All these information is available with them. If we analyze this information, that information can be converted to money. So this information, different way you can analyze these things. Then how we can utilize this data? That is another thing, how we can properly use this information. What are the methods available? In the modern day, we have the more data analytics method. Data analytics. So you get the data, you can sort it out different way and get some information. But now we are using, along with that one, we are using the artificial intelligence also. Now everywhere artificial intelligence is used. Even the day to analyze the data, we are using the artificial intelligence. But what is the difference between use the artificial intelligence and analyze the data and normal data analysis? In normal data analysis, we can do even the Excel sheet. But if you use the artificial intelligence, you can make the predictions also. You can make the predictions in the next 6 months what will happen. That also you can do. That advantage is there. For example, customer trends, customer behaviors can use for taking business strategic decisions. So in next year, when you are preparing an annual business plan, to take the strategic decisions, also you can utilize this information. So the data. Now, data analytics is a very, very useful one. If any company is not using data analytics, if any organization is not using the data analytics, so they cannot make the profit or they cannot provide the better customer service. So there are components in the data analytics, that is data mining, then the text analytics, data visualization, and the business intelligence. So the data mining means you break down the large amount data to small parts, and you see what are the relationship with these things, and you can cleanse these things, and that is the part you are doing. First, the mining that one. I mean the data mining breaks down huge resource of raw data into small chunks of information that can be usable. And sometimes your data is in a hard copy. So you can make it electronic by using the optical character recognition, OCR. Then you can collect all these things. Then you can identify anomalies in groups of data and assess the dependencies between different data groups to come up with correlations between them. So you can remove the anomalies and you can see what are the dependencies and the correlation with them. Example, in the medical field, they use that for the behavioral pattern of patients. So in the data analytics, one thing is the data mining. And the next one, the text analysis, text analytics. Now, if you have iPhone, when you are typing something, the next letter, they will come to the next letters are automatically type in there. So next word is coming next, without your typing. So these are text analytics. And now the Google has the software to convert your voice to text, any language. Now, normal Office 365 software, you have the voice text English. So rather than you are typing the long letter, long documents, you can just read, then it will be typed in there. So by that way, you can save your time. So these are text analytics. Now, when you go to the Google Doc, go there, and there go to the tools. From tools, you can find, you can get the voice to text. From the voice to text, you can select what is the language you need. Then you read, then you dictate it, then it's automatically type in there. That is the text analytics. That also AI is involved in there. Then the data visualization. So even you have the information, the it should be properly visualized to you. You cannot read everything. It should come graphically. Or it can come with the bar charts. So the dashboard is there. The dashboard, you can see everything very easily. Now, when you want to compare the revenue or the expenditure of the past 6 months, rather than reading the figures, if you can see the bar chart, it is easy. So the data visualization also very important. Then the business intelligence. How you use this data for the business intelligence? I'll discuss that one. Now, in the data analytics, you have to collect the required data. First, you have to collect the required data, everything. Now, when you say the telecom operator, they have the data. In the ISP, the internet service side. Internet side, you have the data. And when the customers are accessing to that data is there. Then the different places you have data, you can collect those data. When you go to the IT division, you can collect the billing data. So when you go to the procurement, you can get the procurement data. When you go to the inventory management system, the inventory system. So you can collect all these information and clean up them. So sometimes they are not in the same format. You may have to change the little bit, do some clean up there. Then you connect them. After that, you start the analysis of that. Now, types of data analytics. One is the descriptive analytics. Then the diagnostic analytics, predictive analytics, prospective analytics. We don't want to remember these things. So the descriptive analysis means that is the normal one. What happened in the past. So the past information analysis is the descriptive analysis. Now you can see the given period of time. Have the number of views gone up? Are sales stronger this month than last? So these are all past ones. That is called the descriptive analytics. So then the diagnostic analytics. That is why something happened. So this involves more diverse data inputs and bit hypothesizing. Did the weather affect previous harvest? The should be harvest. Whether the weather affect the previous harvest? Did the latest marketing campaign impact our sales? So the this is the one it's not a past. So we can suppose you have done a marketing campaign, you can see from marketing campaign whether the expected results came from there. So that is diagnostic analysis. Now very important one is the predictive analytics. Predictive analytics. Now you can predict what will happen there. Where you can see to analyze your customer churn. Okay, who are the possible customers churn from us in the next 6 months? Then what is the reason for that one? Then the before they go out from you, you can diagnose the reasons. Then you can take some actions to them. Then some people can talk to them and see why are you satisfied with our service. So then you can find out the problem, then we give the solution. So then you can see what are the most demanding products you have. So all these things you can do. Now this is not only the telecom side, any area it is possible. Say the irrigation. So if you want to know about the rain, how the rain is coming in the next 6 months, so that you can predict this then on the predictive analysis. So if you get about the last 5 years data about the rainfalls, then by using the data analytics, you can predict next 6 months how the rain is coming. So if you can predict the thing, you can take the precautions, you can take the actions in advance. So therefore this predictive analytics is very, very important. So we don't have much time to discuss all these things. The data analytics you can use for any field. So take the LECO or CEB customers. So you can analyze who are the people they are paying, they are utilizing more than 10 years, more than less than 30 units. So are there any other alternative methods too, with the renewable energy like that? Can you give a solution to them? By that way, you can reduce a lot of cost. So therefore, any area, say the electrical area, mechanical area, any area, you have so many things you can do by this predictive analytics. So if you know the floods are coming, if you can predict when the floods are coming in the next 1 year and which period and how much will be the flood, the amount is coming, height is coming, then in which area. If you know these things in advance, we can take many actions to minimize the damage we have. So therefore, think about the predictive analytics, how even the agriculture field. So if the rains are not coming by those dates, then the vegetable price maybe go high. Then you can take some action for those things. So now you know the importance of the data analytics and try to use this data analytics for your field. Another area you should know is the cyber law. The cyber law, you should have some idea about the cyber laws also. Let me go to the ICTA site for that one. This is ICTA. When you go to the Information and Communication Technology Agency, so you can see what are the digital laws we have. We have one is the Electronic Transaction Act. You should know these things as engineers. The regulatory requirements and the legal requirements, those things also part of your competencies in the PR. So not only your area, just a narrow area. You should have, as a chartered engineer, you should know the wider range. Then You have the, after Electronic Transaction Act, you can the digital signature and authenticate methods. Then you can see some other acts are here. You have the Computer Crimes Act. Computer Crimes Act. Then you have the Data Protection Act, but still it is not act, it is bill. So the before the act it is bill, after passing in the parliament it will become act. I told you about the personal data protection, general data protection regulation in the European countries. So that also come in here. Now sometimes you are getting the calls, you are getting the SMSs from unknown people. Once this regulation comes, so they cannot freely use our personal data for their requirement. So out of these acts, I am very interesting about this Data Protection Act. So I will get that one. Data Protection Act. You read this also. You can go and search the Data Protection Act in Sri Lanka. Just search it, then you will get this one. It's a free of charge you are getting. The actually this is electronic transaction, and this is very interesting one. So now you are allowed to work from home, or you are doing the online work. Sometimes you are having doubt whether these things are legally accepted or not. So if you read the Electronic Transaction Act, you can see all these things are accepted. You can make the rules to accept those things, not just accepted. As the managers, you can make the rules to accept those things. Just see the here you can see first part. Yeah, this is say the an act recognize and facilitate the formation of contracts, the creation and exchange of data messages, electronic documents, electronic records, and other communication in electronic form in Sri Lanka, and to provide for the appointment of certification authority and accreditation of certification service providers, and the other related things. So the certification authority is the one, yeah, you are getting the your authentication is doing in that way through the certification authority. So when you are doing the secure communication, you need the certification authority that one for that one. For instance, they say the non-repudiation. Repudiation means, so you may give an order to the bank online, and the following day you say, no, I didn't tell that one. So the who transferred my money? But if it is going through the certification authority, so that they can witness that one, because that information is stored there. So that is called non-repudiation. So the here this act will give all the precautions for the all support for that one. So please read that one, that may be useful to you. So next next I have now work from home. Is it valid? Is it benefit? You do have the benefits. Now, actually, I have seen that lot of non-technical organizations, they accept this electronic form of things. They don't have the paper copies. In fact, today I went to a particular requirement, and they sent me the email, the document. I got a printout and went to that place. Then one document was missed. Then the second organization, they told, okay, do you have the email? I told yes. Then asked me to just forward it. They got that one. They accepted that. Then I got the report from there. Then I wanted to send it to the first organization. They asked me to use scan and send it to us. But those days we have to go and deliver those things. From these things we can save a lot of time. But it is not directly accepted, but you can have the formulated within organization. Okay, you can accept the electronic copy with this authentication, something like that. So finally I discussed about the tools. Are you using the tools? Are you using the tools in your organization? Now say you are doing a big project. Several people are get together and big project. Are you using any collaborative tool for that one? So normally what you do is you do something and email to the others. But rather than that, we can have the collaborative tools working together. There are many collaborative tools are there. And for each and every field, there are tools to make your work very easy. So therefore, all engineering fields, you see what are the tools available in the modern world and try to use these things. So these are the things I want to tell. So next I hand over to Mr. Ratnayaka to continue from here. It's here, no?
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Vila, for the start of the session. Let's move ahead. I will talk on the communication part of this particular area. First, let's go with what are the telecommunication infrastructure. Mr. Tilak touched a little bit at the beginning. It will provide connectivity to the end user. So end users definition may change from scenario to scenario. There may be a computer, or there may be a individual, or give us a second. Yeah, right. Let's continue there. We had a little bit of a technical glitch. I think that when we are working with technology, that we have certain issues. So provide connectivity to users. Users definition depends on the situation right now, because that at the early stages we talk about individuals, but now we talk about computers or some machines, so some printers, or either some sensors, whatever it is, right? So there can be connectivity between the user and it could be wired or wireless. There are advantages as well as disadvantages for both technologies, but that technology most suited should be selected based on the situation. When it comes to wired technologies, Mr. Tilak talked about copper, fiber, then on wired technologies that we talk about analog and digital voice, then data, ADSL, VDSL, FTTH, GPON, SGPON, everything that we talk about are there. Then when it comes to wireless technologies, we basically look at right now two things. One is voice and other one is data. So we started in 80s on with first generation of wireless networks. From there that we have seen half a century of evolution to the technology. And now, right now, we are in 5G era, where still 5G is being trial out, and certain specifications are or the being finalized in certain areas, but it's coming to the customer. So we'll discuss it a little bit later. First, I will touch on fixed telecommunication networks. Those days, couple of decades ago, that we had a lot of distributed exchanges or switches connecting wired copper customers. Right now that we have consolidated almost all these switching infrastructure into either soft switches or IMS or other central multimedia platform. Then core networks are being converged together. Previously, we had isolated networks, but now it has become databases and isolated databases which were distributed in lot of isolated locations have been converged together along with the network. Then in the fixed network, right now there are a lot of technologies coming up to get an mileage or an extended life of the existing copper access networks. Initially, we had ADSL, VDSL, now vectoring and so on is coming on. With this one, these new technologies, the life of copper networks are getting extended, right? So some of these technologies like VDSL or vectoring could deliver the speeds of even fiber. So copper is yet to be considered obsolete, but cost-wise, it is going to be, I would say, less attractive in near future. When it comes to the fiber, there are a lot of fiber technologies that technologies are used, say initial stages that we used to connect central offices through fibers. Then we move into the pillars or the roadside with fiber, extending the fiber network there. Then we went to buildings. Now it's going up to the customer, end customer, based on fiber technologies. So basically right now that to serve end customers, we use GPON or HGPON like technologies and EPON. So these technologies provide from 100 megahertz, so megabits per second to 1 Gbps or 10 Gbps of bandwidth, which enables customers to get high-speed internet or other services, multimedia services. So these are the evolution of fixed networks. I don't say that fixed doesn't have any disadvantage, but still fixed has a long way to go, fixed networks, because it provides the infrastructure required for better facilities for other platforms like mobile or other technologies that we are discussing later. Because fixed networks will have a dedicated allocated pipe with you, whoever the customer, with the fixed network. So that is one of the most advantage. Then we will talk about the evolution of the mobile industry. We talk about 1G in 1980s, 2G in 1990s, like. So I will talk about 4G right now. 4G is a very common technology right now, which is providing very high spectrum efficiency or will use a smaller spectrum to deliver high bandwidth to the customers. So with 4G, we have two variants, 4G technologies. One is FDD and other one is TDD. In Sri Lanka, both technologies are used by different operators. And now we are moving towards 5G at least in commercial areas. Planners are looking at how to evolve their network up to 5G right now. 5G is considered a threat to many. Is it true? Yes, because 5G will change most of the industries. Because there will be technical disruption to the way that companies are operating. Say, for example, the best thing is that the way pandemic changed the world, right? Now with the new normal, as Mr. Tilak said, that there are many people working from home or working remotely or working electronically. That has threatened, or I would say created more opportunities for some set of people, but there have been disruption for certain set of people. Say, for example, public transport right now is facing difficulties of not having the required number of passengers to break even. Why is it? Because people love to stay at home rather than going to work or going to other place. People start to order things electronically or say online shopping like things. So that has created a lot of opportunities for courier companies like the people or developers who are working on that type of technology. So that is, but 5G will be a threat to different areas, as well as there will be complement to certain other industries. So it will do a digital disruption. The culture, market, industry, and processes will be replaced with new digital capabilities and channels and assets, so that people will work differently or act differently to fulfill their needs. So there will be a lot of disruption in the marketplace. Then what is this 5G? 5G is a buzzword among many people, but it will, many believe that it will deliver faster internet. No, it's not. It is only one component. That is, we call it enhanced mobile broadband, which is evolving faster than other two areas where we get more benefit for the people or the society. Enhanced mobile broadband is for the last mile connectivity for the customers, where that mobile connectivity speeds will be increased, latency will be increased. I will come to that part later. Then the other part is that ultra reliable low latency communication systems, where very reliable systems like say, for example, we are right now having trial runs for driverless cars. Then we have remote surgeries like things. So that for those things, we should have very reliable and very responsive communication system, so that this 5G will deliver that part as another pillar. Similarly, there will be a lot of automation happening in, say, factory floors will be working on automation, right? So they will replace many of the workers, especially the people, manual type of work, which will be repeated with robots and other automation technology. So that those things will work on that pillar of 5G. Then there will be massive machine type communication, which means that there will be lot of sensors, lot of equipment that will be talking to central servers or from machine to another machine. So that is another segment of this 5G. So the 5G is having three pillars. Basically, people are more concerned about mobile broadband or enhanced mobile broadband, but other two will do a massive transformation of the society where we will have a lot of technologies to come to change our way of living and all that. So to get some idea that this graph or will show, the spider diagram will show you that what are the changes from 4G to 5G, right? So basically peak data rate, user experience, spectrum efficiency, mobility, everything will be increased in the 5G scenario. So this is the chain that will give benefit to end customers. At the end, 5G will deliver speeds. Some predicts up to 20 Gbps and of speeds to the last mile from either a base station to the customer or a device. Then capacity, it has very huge capacity because the spectrum it uses fairly larger, but also the efficiency of using the spectrum per megahertz number of bits that could transport at a time is getting higher and higher with 5G technologies. So high amount of data could be transferred at a very short time. Then low latency or less time to respond from a device like that thing. Then ability for network slicing, which is going to be another change in the way that we think. Say, I would take an example of, say, ISL want to have its own 5G network. So one of the telcos can provide a slice, the low latency, I didn't see. Then say ISL want to run its own private 5G network. Part of the network of one of the telco network operators can be sliced and administratively given to ISL to run its own network. So that type of things are available with 5G, so that will improve the spectrum efficiency and the cost for the bit and all that. So there will be a lot of similar examples, say airports, harbors. Those are the more practical examples of network slicing. And 5G will use high frequency spectrum, say for example, ultra low latency communication that right now the discussions are going on 26 to 28 band, like gigahertz bands. So these are millimeter wavelengths. So these frequencies will be used, and the massive communication will be facilitated by 5G. So right now, the number of devices that could connect to a network is very limited, and most of them are mobile devices or some fixed terminals. But with IoT like technologies coming in, there will be billions of devices coming into the network, so that communication will be facilitated by 5G architecture. Then IoT and trends, Mr. Tilak touched a little bit. So these are going to be more machine-to-machine type communications. Say, sensor will connect to a central server or a video camera or a security analytics camera will connect to a security analytics platform like this. So these are going to be machine to machine. Then smart home like smart cities like concepts will come on. Even right now that we do have certain technologies available for smart devices. Say for example, if you go and Google and see your kitchen blender can be connected to the internet, or the rice cooker can be connected to the internet, fridge can be connected to the internet. So like that, there are a lot of things, smart things are coming up. Then smart homes, where that when you go in, that sensors will automatically recognize that with the face recognition or the some other technology, that it will identify you and allow you to come in, or based on the privileges you have, you will be allowed to roam in inside the house as well. So these type of things are available. Say for example, right now that we manually track vehicles, but there will be facilities to track vehicles automatically. When an accident happens, no need to look for CCTV cameras or anything, but there will be a database where that this particular vehicle moved from Kollupitiya to maybe Vellavatta at this time of the day, like that. So these are the possibilities with IoT and like things. Then smart services, utilities like things where that you will be able to have more flexible type of services, and as I said, surveillance will be much more easier, and weather and disaster recovery would be an easier task, and also there could be a lot of predictions, as Mr. Tilak said. Say in most of the European countries are using this earth movement sensors and wind sensors, like lot of sensors to predict disasters. Similarly, they use water level sensors, so that beforehand, say for example, if we have proper sensor systems connected with a proper data analytics with us, when it rains in the hill country, we should know whether there will be a flood in the downstream in the Kalani River or Kalu River beforehand, and we can move out people from that area without affecting to the lives, or we can control the damages. So rather than just looking at out of the window and see whether it's raining, we can have much better technologies to help our people or save lives, like that. Then IoT, it developed a lot. Say we started with RFID like tagging like thing, then surveillance, locating people like things. It happened now that we are talking about teleportation or telepresence and monitoring people remotely like things in this era. So the technologies are evolving. So rather than having we talking to you all physically, now with the technology that we talk online. Similarly, that now there are technologies that for a person to appear on stage without physically coming here, but it could be holograph like technologies could be used so that you will have much more real-time communication technologies. So that these are the trends in the world. In the IoT market, there are three type of things. First one is the license cellular operators or mobile operators, which are working with license frequencies and licensed device like things. Then unlicensed long range spectrum like equipment will be there, which are like LoRa or weightless, so like technologies which can connect lot of devices with long range. Say one base station can, let's say for example LoRa, it can cover up to 30-40 kilometers from one base station. Then what Ms. Tilak talk about, that personal level network with Zigbee, Bluetooth like technologies, which connect more devices in the vicinity. So that I think that there are a lot of devices like Bluetooth and like devices available now. So we can use them. I skipped this area as Mr. Tilak talked detail. Mr. Tilak talk a lot about data analytics and data analysis. I would like to touch on a little bit on this thing on more practical examples for engineers to use. Say for example, with data analytics, that we could do a lot of things. You can predict, and one best example is you can predict for the future. You can say for example, if you are using Google Maps and all that in your mobile device, every month you get an email. Somewhere around 10th of the month, like depending on your Google account, you get an email from Google, say, complete your timeline. How many of you have seen and noticed this? Google knows where you went, when did you go, and how long you stayed at that particular place. So what do they do with this information? They basically earn their money with these type of information, because that Google doesn't charge you for your email, or Google doesn't charge you for your Google Maps, right? So they take this information and analyze and push you advertisements, say on your preferences. Say if you go to a particular sightseeing tour every month, like thing, that Google knows, this guy is more towards nature, right? So it pushes its advertisement related to nature and maybe tourism or hotels in that particular area, like things to you. So that's how that it's earning. Say similarly, go to Facebook, you post some photos on some maybe a bar or somewhere where social gathering. So it will suggest and push more and more ads. Say you on the same topic, say you search for tires on internet, it get this information and push you more and more advertisement like things or content which you had a preference to you. So that's how that they target their market. So they do a lot of analytics or data analysis behind this thing. So that can be done by us as well, but we don't have that much more visibility like Google or Facebook is having. But still we could do, say, for example, one best example is you can use these analytics tools to determine certain anomalies in your day-to-day life. Say, for example, an employee is usually comes in between maybe 8 to 9 in the morning and leaves at 4 to 6, like, so that your systems know that this particular man is coming at this time and leaving at this time at the evening. But all of a sudden that he comes at 12 midnight, then there should be a tracking. Why this man comes in a odd time? So those things could be used. I took an example of real life that where you could, if we have a really automated system where that your doors and all that are connected and having access control, and you are using automated system to allow these people to come in, then if some guy is coming at an odd time, that we can configure that system so that this particular person should go with an authorization from somebody else. So that type of things could be done. So similarly, we can use similar technologies for traffic analysis, and we can increase times of the traffic light to based on the traffic on the road. Maybe in the evening that you have more traffic on a day which is not supposed to have, so due to some event or some incident, then you can have more time allocated for that direction. So that type of changes could be done with data analysis. Then, as Mr. Tilak talked about, weather predictions, then security predictions. There are a lot of applications of analytics which we will have in our real life. So as engineers, I think that it's our duty to use these technologies to solve, provide solutions to our society. So as a final note, what is expected from engineers is to use engineering knowledge, use proper technology for application, solve engineering problem of the society, and manage cost and other resources. This is the mandate that engineers should think about, or will have to focus about, to bring forward the country into a better height. Otherwise, that we will be repeating the same thing that we designed in 1800 Gazette and all that. So there are things that engineers could change this country or this world. So I request you to analyze your questions at the paper and apply your knowledge and solve the problems in the most effective manner, because many don't read the paper B questions or paper A question properly and analyze and identify the engineering problem with it, and you don't relate engineering knowledge you have to the question or rather answer. So that is the way that I think we should move forward. So thank you for listening, and I will call upon Mr. Tilak Silla to. So, thank you very much. Q&A. Are there any questions or anything to raise? If you don't have any questions, that we can wind up. Thank you very much again.